So, first paragraph. Grandfather believed a well-rooted tree was the color of money, the narrator said. So, it's nice. We started our introduction with a quote, and a quote from the actual story. And a quote that actually means something or is going to be relevant to what we're going to be talking about. Here we have a mistake, though. The narrator said should be in the same sentence. So this should be a comma, and this should not be uppercase, should not be a capital letter. So grandfather believed a well-rooted tree was the color of money, comma, the narrator said. Grandfather was a poor man, working as a raisin packer. He was very attentive to how his money got spent. Having said that, I don't like having said that, okay? Having said that is more conversational than something you would write. So I would just say, also, furthermore, okay, another something. To the grandfather, nothing was more important than his own avocado tree for, of course, there's a space here, 3 main reasons. I like how he specified 3 main reasons, okay? That's really important because as a grader, I want to know what you want to tell me really quickly. I have a lot of work to do. I have more essays to look at. So at the very beginning, when you tell me that you have 3 reasons, clearly, I know that I'm looking for 3 different things. You have 3 body paragraphs, you're organized, everything is good. First of all, because he planted it himself and he watched it grow. Now, there is a run-on sentence here that none of you mentioned. First of all, usually after first of all, I would put a comma. First of all, because he planted it himself and he watched it grow. Okay, actually not a run-on sentence, I mean a fragment. Here I'm saying, first of all, because he planted it himself and he watched it grow, what happened? So, as Jonathan had suggested, we should remove because. So, first of all, he planted it himself and he watched it grow. But if we do that, we will form a run-on sentence. Why? Because before and, we'll have a complete sentence. First of all, he planted it himself. That's a complete sentence. Then, after and, we have another complete sentence. He watched it grow. Having 2 complete sentences with just an and in the middle is a run-on sentence. We need to add a comma right here. Moreover, comma, without a space of course, it was like a symbol of hope to him. The grandfather loved his tree also because he put a lot of energy into helping it grow, comma, and, again, another run-on sentence, it was a member of his family to him. Instead of saying, it was a member of his family to him, it should be, and he considered it to be a member of his family, to make it parallel, because here we said the grandfather loved his tree, okay, because he put a lot of energy, and he considered it to be family, something like that, okay? Okay, great. His favorite tree, the avocado, which had started in a jam jar from a seed and 3 toothpicks, grandfather's grandson said. Now, here the quote that you have is actually a fragment in itself. Take a look. His avocado tree, his favorite tree, sorry, the avocado, which had started in a jam jar from a seed and 3 toothpicks, what? I need to continue the sentence. I need to complete the sentence. Okay? Then again, comma, grandfather's grandson said. I could, instead of saying grandfather's grandson, I could just say the grandson said. We only have one grandfather in the story, and we only have one grandson. Grandfather planted the tree himself. Short sentence in the middle, without any transitions at all, doesn't really look good. Unfortunately, the tree did not grow in a healthy way because of the pollution. Because of pollution. Here I'm talking about pollution in general, probably, so I wouldn't use the. After 10 years, the first avocado hung on a branch. Doesn't really make sense to add that after a comma to the same sentence. So maybe I would say something like this. Unfortunately, the tree did not grow in a healthy way because of pollution. Period. The narrator states that after 10 years, the first avocado hung on a branch. Okay? Or the way he wrote it is to put a period here. Then we would start with after 10 years, the first avocado hung on a branch, comma, the narrator said. This is when grandfather felt a sense of pride with himself, although the fruit was not eatable. Now, of course, we don't say eatable, we say edible. Okay, it means can be eaten, so it's edible, not eatable. Here we have an ambiguous pronoun like we said yesterday. This is when grandfather. Here, what is this? This, by this, you mean everything you've stated before, like the whole paragraph. And we can't do that. Remember, a pronoun is called a pronoun because it must refer to a pronoun. Okay? So instead of saying that, what can I use? I can say something like only then. Only then did grandfather feel a sense of pride with himself, although the fruit was not edible. Okay? Now, not edible has a word, which is inedible. Okay? Inedible. So we could have written it that way. It would have been better. Okay. The grandfather was so attached to his tree, mainly because it offered hope and promise for more years, as the narrator states. Okay? As the narrator states, or stated. Because of the pollution, the avocado took a lot of time to grow. Still, after all the effort that grandfather put in the tree, the first avocado was flecked with black. Grandfather thought that this was an omen, a warning to keep an eye on the ongoing life of the tree. This last detail, here it's not ambiguous, because here it says this detail, proves that grandfather never lost his hope in the avocado tree. Contrarily, he always did more for it. Now, having contrarily like this, or conversely, or something like that, I would rather have a semicolon before it because it's a complete sentence. So contrarily, or on the contrary, comma, he always did more for it. So the body paragraphs are really good. The examples are really thought out well, and they do make sense. Okay, just some language or grammar mistakes here. Okay, so before we move on to the third body paragraph, starting with finally, let me just note something really quickly. Inedible here is correct. We could also use the word unedible. There is such a thing as unedible, but there's a slight difference in meaning. For this particular word, or for this particular meaning, inedible would be better. Unedible is usually is used when we refer to something that cannot physically be eaten, something you cannot eat, like my phone, for example. My iPhone is unedible. Okay, it is physically impossible to eat your phone and digest it. Okay, maybe not impossible, but almost impossible to eat your phone. However, if I'm talking about an avocado that is not ripe enough, that doesn't taste that nice, it would be called inedible. So inedible is something that you would have difficulty eating. Inedible would be about something that you have difficulty eating because it doesn't taste good, or because it's not fully cooked, for example. Okay? But unedible means physically impossible to eat. So here we'd still be using the word inedible. Okay. Finally, the tree was to the grandfather was. Of course, here I'm sure this is a typo. Okay, the two wases here don't make sense. It's a fragment. So finally, the tree, I can remove this comma. It doesn't make sense. Was to the grandfather a sort of present, without a sort of present to his children. After all the sweat grandfather lost in supporting the tree, the avocado became like a branch of the family. I could simply put a period here and then just start with a capital letter. Does it make sense to put a colon in such a long sentence? And the 2 points here can be simply divided into 2 sentences using that period. Okay, so there was no need to do this. Okay, afterwards. It grew as did his family, and when he died, all his sons, standing on each other's shoulders, oldest to youngest, could not reach the highest branches. The grandfather's grandson exclaimed. Again, we can just say the grandson exclaimed. With this statement, it is obvious that the avocado was indeed a family member. Each of the grandfather's children took care of it, just like the grandfather did. Okay, the second half of the paragraph is really good. Finally, in conclusion, the grandfather was so loving towards the tree because he watched it grow. Moreover, so that's number 1. Moreover, the tree offered hope and promise for future years. That's number 2. Finally, the avocado represented a gift for the grandfather's children. Number 3. A really good summary for the 3 reasons. The tree was the grandfather's companion, without a comma here, just the tree was right away, the grandfather's companion throughout his long life. After long days of hard work, grandfather would love to be able to spend some time with his tree. So a good conclusion, restated the examples, summarized the examples, not as many grammar mistakes as some of the parts before. All in all, it's a very good essay. Mainly the grammar or typos or spelling mistakes are the drawbacks in this essay. Other than that, it's really good.